I want to welcome you all on behalf of Langston Center to this space to listen to a wonderful storyteller. This is a program that is continues from last year. And so before I introduce our speaker, though, I want to recognize. Mike. Oh, sorry. I'm going to start all over. I would like to recognize a few people here, and one of those is our President, Dr. Stephen Wares. Can you please wave your hand? That's the President of Emmanuel Christian Seminary and Millikan University. So it's the President of Millikan University. And Adam Dixon, I wonder if he's here. He can be here. Adam Dixon is the director for Langston Center. Yeah. So this program is brought together by the two institutions. And the funding for the Langston Center leadership is made possible through Emmanuel's Pathways for Tomorrow initiative, a grant program funded through the generosity of Lilly Endowment. So today, April 4th, marks the day Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. Our guest today will highlight one of his visions, actually his larger visions, which is building the beloved community. We've been trying to do this for the last 50 years, and we're still trying to do it. So Ms. Sheila Arnold is the co-founder and the first artistic director, Artists Standing Strong Together, a nonprofit funded during COVID-19 pandemic. This growing community aims to support the arts and artists through digital performance and exhibition opportunities, workshops, and an emergency support fund. The National Storytelling Network awarded Sheila and her co-founder, Donna Washington, the 2021 Distinguished National Service Award for their efforts. Now, the rest of Sheila's story is in the program that you've received, so I'm not going to cover it all. But I want to highlight just a few other things. As an historical consultant, Sheila worked with Montpellier in the creation of their short film, The Mere Distinction of Color. In addition, she worked in creating scripts for the Niagara Falls Underground Railroad project. Now, as a theologian, I need to highlight something else as well. In 2021, Sheila was commissioned to craft and perform the story of St. Scarborough 85, detailing the integration of the Oak Ridge schools in 1995. Following her faith tradition, Sheila wrote and produced the full-length play, And the Women Were There, which focused on 7 women who followed Jesus. That's the part I wanted to highlight as a theologian, that I liked that. I connect to that. So we are pleased to have Sheila to our town. Let me tell you also that when she came last year, and then she left, people came to me and she said, we need to bring Sheila back. And so here we are. So I'm glad that she's here. And I'm going to ask the director of Pathways, who is my colleague at Emmanuel Christian Seminary, Gary, to come and offer a prayer. And then after that, Sheila will take it over.
Hey, Gary. It's so good to see you.
Let's pray. We give you thanks and praise, O God, for your vision to bring all things together, all people together. We thank you for the vision of Martin Luther King and for his tireless and sacrificial efforts to realize that vision, and may we give our lives to it as well. Thank you so much for Sheila and for her amazing gifts and her amazing ability to take us into wonderful spaces through her stories and through her generous presence. And I pray that you would bless her today, bless this gathering. May our lives be changed. We ask it in the name of Christ, through the power of the Spirit. Amen.
Amen. No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Don't do it. Yeah, I will. I got it. I got it. So the rule was that they didn't allow any of us to ride in the front of the garbage, the sanitation truck. That's what the law was, is there were no black men allowed to ride in the front of the sanitation truck. Even if you needed two drivers, there was not going to be two black drivers together. And they made us, that worked for the sanitation department, ride on the back of the trucks, where they had the compressor, where they would push that trash down that we'd have in there. We'd hold on to the back as we went. Oh, you've seen the pictures of many a man, even today, riding on the back of those trucks before they had those big handle things that would pick things up. And we'd ride on the back of the trucks. They stopped the truck and we'd jump off and get one from this side, and then somebody else get one from that. So usually it was two of us that rode on the back of the trucks, and most of the time that was all right. Till it rained. Inside of that cab, they were safe from that rain. But we couldn't even go when it rained inside the cab of that truck. So we positioned ourselves. Now, if it was a light rain, that's one thing, but you know rain can come in lots of different ways over here in Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, Lord, when we had some of them hard rains that hit down on the ground, and we just trying to get out of the weather a little bit. We still got to do the job, but I got wet all the time. So we would get into the compactor area. I mean, the truck wasn't using the compactor, so we'd get into the compactor area, and we'd use that as a shield over our heads so we could keep going. But then sometimes, when you hit a bump or a pothole, or somebody just reached for the wrong button, sometimes that compactor would start. And in the rain, as it would hit upon the top of that truck, you could scream and yell. You could bang the side of the truck, and they wouldn't hear you. And arms, and hands, and legs, and friends would get caught in that compactor. They didn't care. We presented it before the city, and they said it was just a part of the duties. They didn't raise any extra money so the family could be taken care of. We had to do that with each other. Colored folks barely making anything, but we trying to make sure a good burial of what remains we can find. And they look at us. They didn't see us. You see, for them, we want no better than the trash. So it made sense that we got compacted. And then Martin Luther King Jr. came because we were going to protest. We had been protesting. We had been saying we weren't going to do things, and nobody took notice of us. And then all of a sudden, Reverend King come, and he going to walk with us. And we were carrying signs. On one side it said, "I am a man," and on the other side it said, "I am not trash." I am a man. I am not trash. I am a man. I am not trash. And I could feel in my own shoulders. I could feel my own shoulders getting stronger. I could feel as I was walking, I could feel myself. I knew what I was. For once, I knew what I was. I am a man. I am not trash. And we walked that day. And folks, they gathered on the side of us, and they yelled at us and screamed at us, and they threw things at us, but we didn't care. I am a man. I am not trash. And when we gathered, he spoke to us, and all his words, they filled us up. We had a light, and we knew where we was going, and we were all going to be men together. And they shot him. They shot the light. There weren't enough tears that night. There weren't enough tears the next day, until someone reminded us that when you shoot into light, it disperses and it don't die. I am a man. I am not trash. And I will be the next light. God bless you, Reverend King. And God bless us as we march again. Nate, will you come up and light the candle in honor of his life and his death? We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Thank you for allowing us to have that moment together. It was only a year and a half ago that I learned that story about the sanitation workers in Memphis where he was killed and why I was there. And I went, ooh, we don't tell the story big enough. We tell the ending of his ending, but we don't tell why he was there. And that part of the story, he would be ashamed that we had forgotten. Because his death was an ending for him, but not a movement. He would want us to remember why. And so I tell that every now and then. Sometimes to new ears that were like me, that didn't know. Because we don't always get the full story. I am delighted to be at my other home, which is actually Jonesboro, not Johnson City, but whatever. You're close enough. And Jonesboro has, as a storyteller, I started attending the National Storytelling Festival in 2005 and been there every single year since, except when they didn't have it last year. But then I ended up being here anyhow because I was here for the amazing fundraiser because of the hurricane survivors fundraiser. And then when we were online, I was in those online performances. So I still feel like I've been here, and I keep coming. People give me special assignments to come to Tennessee. So much so that people go, so are you originally from Tennessee? No, I'm not from Tennessee. I love y'all. I am from Virginia, which was a part, which y'all here in Tennessee were a part of Virginia. You have just forgotten your place. But that's okay. We'll let you have your own state if you'd like it. All right. I am thrilled to be able to share stories again, and I hope that these stories will just speak to you in lots of different ways. I hope that first story, I thank you so much for the opportunity to, thank you for letting me change things up a little bit, Kip and Nate, so that we could do that kind of presentation at the beginning. I think that's a great way to begin, is that light disperses. We can all be a part of that light. So I'll start with this story. They called him a dirty boy. That is what they called that boy. They called him dirty. And they turned their heads and put up their noses because that boy, they didn't want him around. That boy, he was born, and his father, before he was born, his father had come, and his father had gone out and gone hunting, and his father was killed while hunting. And his mother never got over the sadness. His mother never got over the sadness. Come on in and sit on down, babies, you're fine. His mother never got over the sadness. And so she gave birth to the baby, but then she walked herself into the water and did not return. And so the boy was taken to its grandmother, who lived on the edge of the peoples and was raised there. And as the boy grew, they watched him, and so the boy began to be looked at as different. And he would come in, and sometimes early in the morning, people would wake up, and the children would get up with the elders, and they would learn how to make rope. They would learn which things that they could pick for food, but they would look around, and that boy was not there with them. And they say, he is a lazy boy, because he would come later in the afternoon when all that teaching seemed to be done. And sometimes he would come out, and the children would be playing, and they would be having fun, and he would come over to where the children were to play with them, and the children would stop and say, you are a dirty boy. They would repeat their parents. A dirty boy. Ooh, you stink, you smell bad. And they'd run away from him. And sometimes in the evening, when all the people of the village and all the people there of that community gathered together in the night, when they would gather together beside one another, they would share tales, they would share stories, they would share community and time together in the evening, and the children were there, the grandmother was there, and the boy would come and sit amongst the community, and someone would inevitably turn and say, ooh, the smell. What a boy. And this happened time and time and time again. until finally the boy no longer wanted to be around the community. When the boy was 16 years of age, it so happened that a drought came over the land. And it was not just any kind of drought, it was that kind of drought where there were things that stopped growing. And so it first happened that the plants began to die and wither, but they were not afeared because they went fishing. But then the lakes and the creeks began to dry up until there was merely mud and there was very little of that. And so bellies went hungry, babies cried, old ones wondered if they'd have any nourishment at all. And the people of the village the people of the town and community began to talk amongst one another. Should we move? Should we go someplace else? How will we get there? Who might we have to leave behind? And the grandmother heard these conversations. And the grandmother came home. One day she came home and she looked at her grandson and said, "The people are hungry." The son looked at the grandmother. "What does that have to do with me? I have no part of those people. What does that have to do with me?" But she knew her son, her grandson, and she said, "The people are hungry." Late in the evening, when the stars were in the sky and the moon shined high and the sun had long gone down, the boy rose up in the night. He rose up in the night with no shoes on his feet, with the barest of clothes upon him, but he did have them. And with that, he walked out of the back door, for he was familiar with this time of the day, of the evening at least. He was familiar with this time, and like every night, he began to run. He ran and he ran faster and faster. And because of his bare feet, it would pull up the dirt as fast as he ran. It would pull up the dirt behind him, and that dirt would come across his back and come over his head even and fall upon him. And he looked and smelled of the earth. And it covered him. And he ran faster and faster, faster and faster and faster until he saw it and he stopped. And he bent low. And with the smell of just earth upon him, he knew the big stag he saw in front of him, that large deer with a multiple antlers on its head. Good enough. Antlers on his head. Would not smell him or sense him. And he waited where he was. That buck lifted its head and smelled nothing. And at ease put its head back down. And that's when the boy got up and he ran over there to that large buck, and he took his large arms and he wrapped them around as much as he could around that buck. He lifted the buck up and put the buck down, and then quickly with his knife, he sliced the throat. And then he did what his grandmother told him. He put his hands on the buck's head and he said, "Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for giving me the food that you provide me. Thank you, brother, for giving me your fur to cover me. Thank you." As he had been told by his mother, his grandmother, so he was grateful for that which provided for him. And then he lifted. It seemed as if little weight, but he lifted that buck, put it over his shoulders, and began to come home. In the morning, It was very, very early. Some of the leaders had gathered in the middle of the community to talk about this thing, this food that they did not have, this drought that seemed to be killing them, wanting to know and decide. And into that came the boy. And the boy came in, they were silent, and the boy took off the buck and threw it down in front of them, looked at them, and walked home to his grandmother. And the people saw this was meat that would help them for many days. And they realized they knew nothing about that boy. And so they moved their way to the grandmother's house. And they knocked on the grandmother's door, and the grandmother came out and closed the door behind her. And she looked at them with questioning eyes. And they said, "We would like to speak to the boy. We are sorry for what we have done and what we said." She looked at them and said, "You did not even try to learn about my grandson, but I know him. You called him dirty. You called him lazy. You called him stinky. He would run every night. It was his way of walking through his pain over the loss of his parents. Every night he went out, and so he slept in. But he learned to hunt on his own. He became faster until when he ran, the dirt covered his body, and what you saw as a dirty boy was merely the great earth that comes upon us when we know what it is." And you said he smelled, but it is only because you no longer know the very earth that provides for you. You cannot smell it.
My grandson has given to you because I knew that he would do that. And the people were ashamed of what they had done. They were ashamed of what they had sent. And they asked if she would have the boy come out. But the boy did not want to come out. And he would not. Because some things are so deeply painful that forgiveness is not possible without time and change. And the people accepted that. But every now and then, someone would come back and ask if forgiveness was possible. And time, much time passed until the boy was able to be in community. The dirty boy. I learned that story from a particular dictionary called the Standard Dictionary of Legends, Myth, and Folklore, which gives you lots of information, most of it really old. But this is some information that just was like this long, like that long, of a Native American tale. Didn't even tell me which group, which people's group. but I have elongated to what it is now. So now what I would like for you to do is take a moment, turn to some people around you. If you don't have people around you, make sure you get people around you. If you see someone that is not around somebody, go make sure that they get around somebody, which means you or they may move. And answer the question, we're only going to have about 5 minutes. Answer the question, what did that story make you think and or feel? So, proceed on. Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Deliver Daniel? Deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? And why not to every man? Oh, didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Deliver Daniel? Deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Then why not every man? All right, Michelle's got the microphone. I'm just going to have a couple of follow-ups and just say, anybody like to share a little bit about what their thought or feelings were about this? So, anybody? All right, up here. She got it covered.
This gentleman, John, and I spoke, and we discussed the fact that the young boy did feed the community, and whether he did it because it was for the community or because he had this grandmother that instilled this in him. And it brought up for me as a grandparent, with these times as they are these days, the importance of instilling what's right in the next generations.
I love it.
It's our duty.
I love what you said, because it didn't matter whether it was just him or if it was just his grandmother. He still provided for the community. Again, there was a bit of influence, but he made the final decision because he didn't have to run and he didn't have to do that. But you're right, it may not have been, he may have done it because the grandma said it, but he still did for her, and he made sure of the larger community. But that's good. We need to instill things as much as we can. Excellent comment. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else?
Mm. 400 years of the black community being treated less than others. And we want them to just forget the past. And yet the pain goes deep. And with that, the ones who are in charge of the community have to have patience and listen.
And humility. Yes, humility to say, that was wrong what was done before. And because it was wrong what we did before, maybe we should not encourage things that seem so similar to what was done before. So when we support that which is similar to what slavery was before, we are saying that we haven't really gotten over the fact that slavery is wrong. You know how hard we have that in this country? Someone said to me the other day, that's going to be it. You're good. Sheila done gone out to another thing. Someone said to me the other day, in a meeting, storytelling such as this, in response to one of the things, well, you know, in Germany, they don't have the freedom of speech to talk about things like Nazism and stuff like this, and they need to be able to, we need to be able to deal with that kind of history. We don't need to stop people in history. I'm like, no, Germany has decided that Nazism was wrong, that they don't care if anybody thinks it wasn't wrong. They know it was wrong. They know it harmed their community. They know it harmed their nation. And they have decided that that is not what we're going to allow because it's just wrong. The United States has not yet quite decided slavery is wrong. And if you... I got a big wow out of that. It's true. And I mean, the man that heard that was like, I don't, and I was like, let me help you. One of the questions I'm starting to get from children now, this year, I've never gotten these questions before. And I always know when I start getting questions or thoughts from kids as I'm going to middle school and elementary schools, when I start getting to some things, it's trickling down. For a while there, I was getting some good trickle downs. I was like, okay, that's pretty good. 3 times this year already, 3 different schools. Well, I mean, slavery wasn't that bad. And on the first one, I went, okay, wait, okay. And so I usually do, if I'm trying to explain, I do a little activity with kids, and I was in New York. And I usually say, close your eyes, and it's usually in response to a different question, but I figured I'd use the activity. I said, close your eyes, and I'm gonna have you imagine, and then I had to stop myself, because what I usually have kids imagine is, imagine if you went home and one day somebody came in and someone took your mother and your father out, and I could not do that example, because as I began to say it, I knew, because I knew this population of kids was literally living it. That kid who asked the question wasn't living it. But I couldn't have those kids close their eyes and imagine their parents being taken away from them, because there was a whole slew of kids that were literally on the edge of their lives. So I had them all. I said, open your eyes, everybody open your eyes. No, don't imagine that, don't imagine that, we'll do it a different way. And OMG that I could not use an example because it was so close to their homes that literally they don't answer their doors because the ice is what they're afraid of. Except for, one of those kids who asked the question, and he didn't have that issue. And I had, to explain, but 3 different times this year have I had that response come back. I've heard it from adults in political campaigns. I've heard it from people. It's starting to trickle down. That means it's being said more. We have not yet decided in our country that slavery is bad, because we still want monuments to people who started a war for states' right to own people. There's no other reason that it was fought. Say state rights all you want. What was the state right they wanted? To own other people. We have to deal with that. And until we deal with that, we got a lot to walk through. So there will be a lot of dirty boy moments of like, I'm just not ready to deal with y'all. Was not expecting to go there this early. If you are feeling the need to walk out now, you might want to. I don't know. No, I'm just teasing. I don't want you to walk out. But I ought to say this. This is still a safe space. And when we get to hard subjects in a safe space, we do not avoid them, and we try not to judge. We listen, and then we thoughtfully and carefully respond. I hope I have done that in responding. So you see a bit of my edge, but also my love that we could have this conversation. Are you ready for a different story? Okay. They're all tentative on me now. They're like, are we ready for another story? Because that one didn't work out like we thought it was going to. You said what? Okay, I can keep talking because you told me nobody listens, but I can keep talking. I'm just teasing you. So the next story, well, this story that I'm telling is a story you're probably familiar with in any shape or form. And you may have heard it in different ways, but you're probably familiar with it. It is, it's a story that Jesus tells, and it's the story that happens about this guy who's making his way home, and he gets beat up and all of his things get taken. He's laid on the side of the road, and there he is. And here comes this other guy, this man that probably is a teacher of the law or some religious guy, looks at him and says, can't help you, keeps right on going. And then another guy comes on, you know, so again, another one of those religious guys, and he walks by and he goes, ooh, no, can't help you. And so he keeps going. And then there's this other guy that comes, and he's a Samaritan. And the Samaritan does not like this guy who happens to be Jewish, and they really don't like each other. Like, you know, it's not really, really good. It's oil, vinegar, bad. Just, you know, well, actually, oil and vinegar goes together. Okay, so that didn't work. Whatever that was that don't go together, oil and vinegar go together. They don't. So they were just not really supposed to really like each other, but the Samaritan stopped where he was going to help. And we don't know where the Samaritan was going. You know, we don't know where he's going to. Had he been working for 2 weeks straight on a long distance thing, and he was finally coming home after all this time, and now he stopped on the way? Or, you know, was he coming home just to see his wife? He was the newlywed. It'd been a couple of days. He couldn't wait to get home, and he was excited. I wasn't, yeah. Or was he going to visit his ailing mother, who he hadn't seen? And now she was going to be put on hold. We actually don't know where he was going to, but we know he stopped. He stopped and he began to nurse the wounds of this person, and I don't know what he nursed them with. Did he bring with him an emergency preparedness kit that he put on the back of his donkey and had with him at all times? And why would he have that particular kit? Was this something that often happened? Or maybe he had heard one day that if you take wine, which he just happened to have on him, you take wine and you pour that on people's open wounds, it seems to heal them. Or maybe there was a brook or a creek that wasn't too far away, and he walked in his nice flowing robe that looked really good up until the point that he got into the mud, and he got some of the water and he brought it back and he helped. We don't know what he did. He could have even ripped off the part of his robe and used that as bandages, or some of the clothes he had for his second day's worth of journey. But we don't know. But he did. And then he lifted him up and put him on his donkey, or whatever viable means of transportation he had. It could have been a wheelbarrow. We really, he could have picked him up, put him on it, and then he took him to a hotel. And then he asked the hotel person for a room or two, because he could have gotten one separate farmhouse. I'm certain they had connecting doors in those days. And he asked to take care of him. And you will come back to the innkeeper and the thoughts on his head and such like that, because was it a Jewish inn? Was it a Samaritan inn? And what response would they have had to this beat up person? Like coming to my hotel and messing up things. The bed covers would never be the same again. But he took him there. And then he stayed and he nursed him through the night. And then the next day, he said, I'll be back. With what? I mean, he had to have money to go get the room in the first place, and we don't even know where that money came from. I mean, we're not clear where that money came from. Had he been to the Samaritan version of casino nights? And he made a pocket full and was going home, Or had he decided that he had finally got enough money to purchase his daughter, what his daughter had always wanted? You know what I'm talking about? The pony. And he's going to get it for her? Okay. And now he didn't. Or maybe he was just walking home with his paycheck, and he was going to get home, and he was going to tell his wife that he didn't have the paycheck because he took care of the Samaritan guy. She's going to look at him, and she's going to give him that look and say, what was wrong with you? Don't you know better than to spend your money on something like this? I can't believe that you did this. What are you doing? What kind of man are you? Or something like that. We don't know where he got that money. We don't even know if it was extra money. Maybe it was his I'm traveling down the road money. You ever been traveling and you just took what you needed that day? Or maybe it wasn't even that much. He was going to sleep outside under the stars with his donkey that night. He had this much. But then he comes down and he tells the innkeeper, whatever it costs, I will be back. What? One, he must have known this innkeeper, so we have no idea what he had been doing in that inn. Just saying. But then where's he going to get that money from? Is he going to work another full-time job again, making extra to pay for that now? And still give his wife another check because she's not going to be happy? Or was he going to go in his backyard and dig up that box that's buried in his backyard because he'd never used banks? They're just dangerous. Where was he going to get that money? But he stopped where he was going. He aided with what he had on him. He cared for somebody and took them to a safe space. And he paid for that care. And he did all that because it was the right thing to do. I was in the Chick-fil-A, and they have a play place in the Chick-fil-A. Y'all know what I'm talking about when I say play places. You know, some of y'all don't have children no more and no grandchildren. So you don't know the play place is that place where you play. The little children, it's where parents go when they don't want to be bothered with their child. They just want to sit in a soft place and say, go at it, go at it. So it's that place. Y'all with me? Good. So, and it was one of those really cool ones because it had, 4 different levels. You go to this level, you like that level, this level, that. And then it had this sliding board that went around to the ground, which was cool. That's how you got down. Had some tunnels up there and such, and kids could look out and say, and that kind of tunnel. It was really great. And so it was this wonderful thing. And nobody in there was above the age of 6. They were just climbing and running, and it was loud. They were being kids. It was lovely. It was just amazing. So I was watching all this. Well, in the door comes this girl, and the girl is probably about 5 years old. She takes off her shoes immediately, puts them in the little cubby, and behind her comes a little girl, obviously the little sister, follows the big sister, takes off her shoes, puts it in the cubby. Big sister hits that first level, starts climbing. Baby sister, some of y'all are baby sisters or baby children in here, and y'all know what y'all did. Y'all just start climbing right behind the big ones. In here, who was the youngest in here in their group? Who was the youngest? One youngest, one over there. Oh, you two? Yeah. You know what you did. You just followed everything they did. So that's what they did. Okay, maybe not you, sir, but everybody else did. So that's what they did. They just followed along, and so the little girl just follows along. She's about 2.5. She goes first level, second level, third level, fourth level. At the 4th level, she looks down the sliding board that her sister has just gone down. But when she looks in the sliding board, she sees no bottom because it twirls. And then she looks around her and realizes where she is, and that's when she says, no, 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 get me down from here, get me down from here, no, 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 no. Well, there's mesh on the thing so that children don't fall out, which also means parents can't get in. And their mother and the father of this little girl are there. The mother gets up immediately. Now, I will say, the father never moved. It was just like, she's up there, But anyhow, the mother moves, realizes the mesh is right there, but also realizes she cannot climb up into there. Probably, one, because she couldn't fit up in there. But secondly, because her weight is not suited for that, and there's a bunch of children still on there. I can't help you, baby. I need you to come. No, 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 let me down, let me down, no, 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 no. I can't help you, baby girl. I need you to come down, and everything stopped. All the children stop what they're doing. And they all come to the little girl, including the little boy who was going backwards inside of the sliding door. And they begin to help the little girl down from 4th level to 3rd level. She gets to the third level. She's like, mommy, 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 come help me, come help me. Mommy, 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 come help me. And the mom is holding on to the mess. She says, baby, I can't help you. And that's when the 6-year-old proclaims, we will help her down. And so they do. They help her down from the third level to the second. From the second to the first. That's still a little climb. You gotta get to the ground floor. And on the first, from the second to the first level, the second to the first level, it's a bigger step. It's a bigger thing. You gotta really climb on that one. And so when she put her feet over, her feet did not touch the next level, and she was scared. And so a little boy with little hands went to her little feet and held them very gently and said, I pull you down. I pull you down. He couldn't quite help her as much as needed, but the mom got her in just the right position where she could just reach through and kind of help her get down. And then that little boy walked with that little girl until her feet hit the ground level. And the mother looked at me and she said, we adults need to learn a lot from this. And I said, mm-hmm. And then I called over my grandson, that little boy who had taken his little hands to take her little feet to help her come down. That little boy who had made sure that she had an escort till her feet were on the ground. I called him over and I said to my 3-year-old grandson as I hugged him, and I said, you are a good person. And he kind of got out of my hug and he stepped back and he looked at me confused. And then he went back to where all the other children had gone, climbing up 1 level, 2 level, 3 level, 4 level, down the sliding board, through the tunnels, making noise, being children all over again, including that 2.5-year-old girl who did not follow her mother to sit down, but went back into the tunnel and went 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the top, and then went, no, help me get down. And all the children stopped. And not one child said, you got yourself up there. Get yourself down. You on your own now. Good luck to you. No. They helped her down because it didn't matter where they were going. It didn't matter what else they had on them. They had what they had. And it was the right thing to do. I know y'all know it's coming. Turn to the people that you were with last time or add new people to your group. It doesn't matter. Now this time, make sure that whoever was the first to speak in your group is not the first to speak this time. Make sure that you've introduced each other, to each other. Make sure you've done that already. And what did that story make you think and or feel? 5 minutes. Love you. Bye. Little child.
Let her go upstairs. Till she figure it out.
The world and good one, they precious innocence. Jesus loves the everyone is beautiful in their own way. Oh, Under God's heaven, the world's gonna find a way. I'm glad others can join me at the Have you ever heard the song, like the song you've been singing like for forever with the words that you thought they were? And then you actually read the words and you're like, wow, I am so far off base. Amen. All right, just a couple of moments. Michelle is ready. Anybody like to share their thoughts or feelings and or feelings?
Well, my group was telling me I need to share our group, and so we kind of had a couple of views. Most of us were of the mindset, we got you down the first time. We need you down the next time. My mom would say, I done told you. And that would have been, if you're not going to get down by yourself, don't be going.
Which is exactly where most of us adults go. And when those children did not blink an eye, it was beautiful. Oh, wait.
But just to add to what Michelle said, because I was one of the ones in our group that felt the same way. Why are you going back up there? That we should be more like the children in that they're still willing to help.
Mm-hmm.
They're not questioning, why do you keep doing that? Or why are you like that? But they're willing to help.
Yes, and it's just something to remind ourselves of. Kids actually go back and try the thing again because they think they can do it again.
Right.
And they haven't failed in their head. They just didn't do really well that time, got scared. So they tried, that's how they learn how to walk. But we're so far away from the we learned how to walk thing that we just give up after the first time. And there's all these reasons why I can't do that. People helped me last time, it didn't work, and we get advice, we figure out how to do it. The advice is, do it better, stay up here longer. But, Frankie has a question. All the way over here in the front. So we got Michelle rolling. But yeah, that's a great point. Just put me away.
It seems that the people who built that thing should have an escape hatch.
The people who built it should have an escape hatch. Yes, for the little one. Actually, the escape hatch is for the adults, because the adults are the ones that are like, we gotta rescue my child from that, I love the fact that this mother really couldn't, just like no way could figure out. It was really funny to watch it because she's trying to think through all the way, and then she's like, I can't do it. I can't help. Go ahead.
So I was just saying how this is a beautiful picture of how I think we should learn to grow as a society, because I feel like a lot of times people are preaching like independence, do it yourself, and like I can do me, which is great and all that, but sometimes it's okay to lean on people and ask for help and help others instead of saying like, oh, you should just learn to be stronger. Or
Can we preach that one and put it in a bottle? Thank you very, very much. We definitively need that. Well, those are the stories I was going to share with you today, to remind us that we are light, and that even if we break, we can disperse the light we have, if that is who we are. If we're trying to build community. And we need to remind people who they are. They're human, that they're not trash. They are valuable and worthy. And because they are valuable and worthy, we will walk with them and lift up their cause. That we need to be respectful of those who have been harmed, even with our words, the way we act, and not expect that people are just going to forgive because you asked them to. And that repentance requires fruits. There's even something in the Bible called the fruit of repentance. And that we need to show that. And forgiveness is possible, but sometimes forgiveness takes a while. And I know forgiveness is important. It doesn't need to hold us back. But sometimes forgiveness is difficult. And we need to walk with people in that. And then, if we could just do the right thing, like children. If we could lean on each other instead of away from each other. What a different world it would be. I think we would like that world very, very much. I hope today that you'll take some of this beloved stories, beloved community stories, and walk with them and share them and talk to people about them and then join some things. I know that monthly Kip is going to come up here in just a moment and tell you about a time that they meet together. I am to do two things before I leave. One of them is to tell you that one of the other partners for this is the International Storytelling Center, which assisted with travel expenses, including lodging that they provided. And I am doing a program at the International Storytelling Center tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. It is a launch. It's a new recording that is being launched. The recording's already done, just doing some of the stories and having fun. But it's Brer Rabbit Tales, then and now. So you would enjoy it, even if you don't know if you've ever liked Brer Rabbit. You'll like him after this, or you'll hate him. Either one, doesn't bother me. But you'll have a good time. It'll be a lot of fun tomorrow at 7:30 over the International Storytelling Center in Jonesboro. A cheap date, $14 to get in the door. I hope that you come. I'd love to have a whole household of people there, and we can have we will laugh tomorrow. So if you needed a little laughter, we talked about that earlier, need a little joy, come on in tomorrow. Let's have a little good time. And then I also teach I'm gonna call you Kip. Kip's like, I'm ready, he's ready. And so I also do a Bible telling a session online. The next Bible telling session will start in May. If you are interested in our next Bible telling session, it's a 7-week classes, 7-week. It happens on Tuesdays. There's 3 different times of the day, 12:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m., or 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And you can join any one of those. At any point in time, you can come as short or as long as you want to be there, and to as many classes. There's no charge. Just come up and get a card from me and email me, and I will send you all the information. All you have to do is register. It is fun. You have a great time. You'll get to see all the community stuff that I talk about happens there. So it's pretty awesome. So I hope that you will join me in that. And with that, I say thank you, and I turn it over to Kip.